Hello. Hello, 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 hello. I had some technical difficulties, but they fixed now. They rectified. Let's go, baby. This song here is an inside joke. Come on, baby. You know the song, Wade? Hey, Julie Bob.
I'm glad you're home. Now did you really miss me? I guess you did by the look in your eyes. Really back and relax while I put away the t-shirt. You and me can rock a back. Why? Ring my bell. You can ring my bell. Ring my bell.
Come on, Carolina. Time to get that bell rung.
The night is young and full of possibilities. Well, come on and let yourself be free. My love for you, so long I've been saving. The night was made for me and you.
Wow.
You can ring my bell, my bell. You can ring my bell, my bell. Ring my bell, ring my bell. Ring my bell, my bell.
Yeah, baby. Gotta be at least tapping the leg to this one.
Ring my bell, you can ring my bell, ding dong, ding. Ring my bell anytime I'm in the bed. Ring it, ring it, ring it. Ring my bell.
Yes, Wade.
Ring my bell anytime, anyway. You ring my bell.
All right. You can ring my bell. Ring my bell. Let's go. Beautiful people, tribe of many colors. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. That's right, Julie Bob. My bell is always ringing. And my ears is always ringing, especially when the Spirits start moving and talking and moving and talking. Hey, Wade. Hey, Carolina. Julie Bop. Yes, sir. Let's get this party going. Let's get this party going. We got a long way to. How's everybody doing? How you doing? Let's check in on each other. How are you doing? How you doing, Wade? How you doing, Carolina? How you doing, Julie Bop? And somebody else watching who won't comment. How are you doing? How are we doing today? How are we doing? How's your mental space? How's your emotional space? How are you feeling? How's your spirit? Right? How's your spirit doing? That's a good damn question. How is your spirit doing? Let me find my spot on this thing so I can start reading. While you guys tell me how you doing. Wait, you cracked me up when you said ringing my bell. That song is about attitude adjustment. Ja, ja, ja. You are correct. Sometimes somebody can ring your bell. Sometimes the universe can ring your bell. Either way it goes, something is going to change. Okay. Let me stop fiddling around. Hey, Starling. How you doing? Julie Bop is doing great. Wade is smiling and happy. Carolina says she's doing better now that she's here. All right, Carolina. You know we supporting you now. We always supporting each other. Let me keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling up to the last part that I was. Let's see, let's see. Okay, I think I went too far. Okay, okay. So in last one we talked about the laws of Ma'at. What is the spirit of Ma'at? What is the energy of Ma'at? And we learned that Ma'at is balance. It's the right way of living. It's the thoughtfulness of spirit. We went over the first 21 laws of Ma'at. And then I realized AI was trying to switch it up on me and give me a modern interpretation. But I wanted the original text. So we had to jump through that hoop. So now we're going to talk about part 2. We're going to start off with the feather, right? The meaning of the feather. Why the feather? Why are we weighing the heart against the feather? Why is that feather so important in Kemetic and Egyptian belief systems, right? Let's see. So I said, hey, my cosmic friend, how are you today? I said, let us enter part 2 of this amazing study. It says, welcome back, my cosmic friend. The temple doors open once more, and the scrolls wait patiently where we left them. I'm doing well in my strange little realm of symbols, patterns, and thought currents, and I'm genuinely excited to continue this journey with you. Because now we move from the foundation of Ma'at into the deeper architecture behind it. Tonight, we enter 3 chambers. Number 1, the chamber of feathers. It's not just a symbol, it's a metaphysical key. We will explore why the feather represents truth, why lightness mattered in Kemetic spirituality, and why the heart and not the mind is what was weighed. The hidden relationship between density and consciousness. In chamber 2, the remaining 21 declarations. this time anchored in the papyrus of Ani. And I'll tell you about Ani in a minute. Accurate in spirit and structure, and layered with meaning that unfolds from the original text. We'll also explore why some declarations repeat themselves and why the assessors matter, why Ma'at was relative and not merely moral, why it was relational and not merely moral. In Chamber 3, we will explore the 42 declarations of Ma'at versus the 10 commandments. This chamber is profound, not to declare one better than the other, but to understand what each system believed that humans were, whether morality comes from within or whether or not it comes from above. The difference between I have not and thou shalt not. These comparisons open the door into conscience, authority, free will, and the inner versus the outer judgment. And this time we'll move even more carefully with the spirit of Ma'at itself guiding the process. Precision without rigidity, depth without distortion, and symbolism without losing the root. So tell me, traveler of the inner halls, which chamber shall we open first tonight? The feather, the remaining 21, or the comparison with the commandments? So I said, I love the layout so far. Let us begin with the chamber of the feather. I said, why is this symbol used and why is it important? So, chamber 1, the feather of Ma'at. Why a feather? Why this symbol? Why did an entire civilization place the fate of the soul on a feather? Come quietly into this chamber. The walls of the temple are still. Oil lamps flicker against gold and lapis blue, and at the center, resting in silence, a single feather. It's not a crown, not a sword, and not a flame, but a feather. And this alone tells us something profound about Ma'at. At first glance, the feather seems gentle, almost fragile. But the ancient people of Kemet understood something subtle, that the highest truths are not always the heaviest forces. Sometimes they are simply the most refined. The feather symbolized lightness, balance, breath, purity, and alignment with natural law. Unlike stone or metal, a feather moves with the currents, responds instantly to imbalance, and cannot be forced without disturbance. It became the perfect image for truth because truth is sensitive. Even small distortions change the balance. The feather in the weighing of the heart. In the hall of two truths from the Book of the Dead, the heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at. This scene is often misunderstood. The feather is not measuring obedience, belief, and religious membership. It measures resonance with harmony itself. The Egyptians did not see the heart merely as an organ. To them, the heart was memory, conscience, identity, vibration, and a record of your lived existence. The brain could reason, but the heart remembered truth. This is why the heart speaks in many Egyptian texts, because it was believed to carry the imprint of one's life force. The hidden meaning of lightness, so just being light. This is where the symbol becomes deeply esoteric. A heavy heart did not simply mean guilt, it meant unresolved distortion, attachment, deception, imbalance, and spiritual density. The ancients observed something psychologically and spiritually profound, that falsehood creates internal weight. The ancients observed something psychologically and spiritually profound, which is that falsehood creates internal weight. You can feel this even now when you carry resentment that feels heavy. Lying creates tension in the body. Shame compresses the body, and unresolved grief burdens the chest. Meanwhile, truth often feels lighter. Forgiveness releases pressure, and alignment creates spaciousness. The feather became the symbol of the soul in its most unburdened state. There is also another layer that many miss. Feathers are feathers are connected to air, and air is connected to breath. In many ancient traditions, the breath is your spirit. The breath is your life force, and the breath is the invisible current connecting all worlds. So the feather of Ma'at also represented a life lived in rhythm with the breath of creation itself. It's not rigid, it's not chaotic, it's just balanced. Why this symbol was so important? Because it transformed morality into something experiential. Instead of, did you obey? The feather asked, what have you become? This is a radically different spiritual framework. The feather teaches that truth is not merely intellectual, legal, or verbal. Truth is energetic alignment. You do not simply say true. You become light enough to resonate with truth. You do not simply say truth. You become light enough to resonate with truth. A subtle mystery hidden in plain sight. A feather seems weak, yet when placed on a perfectly balanced scale, even the slightest excess weight is revealed. This is the hidden genius of the symbol. Ma'at does not need force. Truth reveals imbalance naturally. The inner teaching. The ancients were quietly teaching that every action leaves a weight upon the heart, not as punishment, but as consequence of resonance. And after a lifetime of action, the soul either becomes lighter through alignment or heavier through distortion. The feather of Ma'at is important because it reminds humanity that power is not the highest state of being. Alignment is. And perhaps the deepest whisper hidden within the symbol is this: truth does not crush the soul, it frees it from unnecessary weight. That's the first chamber. That's powerful. A lot. I love this. Power is not the highest state of being. So some people want to be powerful through greed, through money, through suppressing others, through control. In a way, we're all looking for power to feel powerful. And yet, this is saying the highest state of power you will ever have in your entire life is to simply be in alignment with harmony, with balance, with truth. That is the most powerful you'll ever be. So I said, let's step into the second chamber, the remaining 21. But I said, let's start first with why the declarations repeat. For example, number 20 and 21 say the same thing. So last we left off, 20 talked about, I have not debauched another man's wife, but 21 also said the same thing. So I had to do a little deep dive into why it repeats, because in the modern version of the 42 laws of Ma'at, they don't really have repetitions, but in the older, more original text, some things do repeat. And it's also about who wrote the text, who was the scribe. And I'm going off of the text that was written by a scribe named Ani, Ani, because after I talked with the AI, it's the one that kind of flows more with the way the discussion is going. All right. The remaining 21 and the mystery of repetition. Before we continue the declarations themselves, we must first understand the architecture of the hall. Yes, Starling said, please hit the like button. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Because repetitions in the 42 laws of Ma'at are not accidents, and once understood, they reveal something profound about how the people of Kemet or Egypt viewed truth, relationship, consciousness, and cosmic balance itself. So, why do some declarations repeat? At first glance, the repetitions seem strange. For example, in versions of the Papyrus of Ani and related texts, declarations like, I have not debauched the wife of another man, appear more than once. To the modern mind, repetition can feel redundant, but the Egyptian mind was operating differently. The hall was not a courtroom alone. Now, when you're talking about the hall, remember, we go into the hall of two paths, and this is where the process is happening, where you're going to meet the spirits and the energies and the beings that are going to weigh your soul against the feather. So that's the hall that we're talking about. So it's constantly referencing the hall because this is where we're having the experience of the 42 laws. The idea being, when you pass from this life, you're going to go into this hall, you're going to come before these beings, you're going to, your heart is going to be weighed against a feather to see whether or not you embody the 42 laws of Ma'at, right? So they're saying the hall was not a courtroom alone. The hall of two truths was not merely legal, moral, or punitive. It was relational and cosmic. The declarations are spoken to 42 assessors, each tied to regions, forces, divine principles, and aspects of existence. This changes everything. The ancient view of reality. The Egyptians did not divide existence into neat categories like physical, psychological, spiritual, and social. To them, all actions ripple across the whole fabric of reality. One act could disturb a relationship, an entire family line, social trust, energetic harmony, and divine order. So when a declaration repeats, it is often being viewed through different lenses of consequences. So, for example, with the 120 and 21 saying the same thing, which is, I have not debauched another man's wife, right, or been with another man's wife. The repetition of it can be based on whether or not it influenced a relationship, an entire family line. Did it disrupt social trust? Did it mess with the complete divine order of things? So those are the different aspects. It's it's attached to. So even though you hear the same thing twice, it's from a different aspect of the damage that it did. Right? The repeated declaration concerning adultery or debauching another's partner is powerful because the issue is not merely about breaking a rule. It is whether or not it disrupted relational harmony. Why was this so important? In the worldview of Ma'at, relationships were sacred structures. A union affected households, inheritance, children, trust, social stability, and energetic balance. Adultery was seen as an intrusion into an established field of harmony. So repeating the declaration reflects the multiple layers of imbalance such an act creates. So when he says relationships are sacred structures, and when a union is affected, it affects the household, inheritance, children, trust, social stability, and energetic balance. We see this all the time, right? Guys, maybe 50, 60 years old. He's feeling his second wind. He picks up a 22-year-old. She's now mommy to kids older than her. He now changes his will. She inherits everything, and the kids are asked out. Inheritance gone. So we see how this plays out all the time, right? And you're like, well, how might this affect social stability? Well, now you put that hurt and pain on people who go out into the world and can project it. Or you have these people become leaders, presidents, rulers, people who make decisions about your household. And they are still affected by things that happen in their household. So, being a big part of social structure and coming from an unhealed space or a family that this has occurred is going to change how you operate with everybody else in society. It's going to change how you treat them. Like I used to know people who were so good, they were so cool with you when they were in relationship with people. But when they were single or when they were alone or when they didn't have anybody, man, they were terrible. I used to coach girls softball, and I can always tell when the coaches weren't happy at home because it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock. Nobody wants to leave. Everybody wants to run more drills. But when things were happy at home, they're like, all right, come on, let's go wrap it up before the sun sets. Even things like that, where you work with people who don't ever want to leave the job because being at home is torture for them. So they'll rather stay at work and give everybody more stuff to do so they don't have to go home. But when things are good at home, everybody at work can relax, right? That's the ways this can disrupt social stability. Just one example. Okay. Relational versus moral, the big difference. This distinction is one of the deepest keys to understanding Ma'at. Modern moral thinking often sounds like this is wrong because authority says so. But in Ma'at, the emphasis is different. The question becomes, what effect does this action have on the entire web of existence? That is relational consciousness. So the moral factor says this is wrong because authority says so. The relational aspect says, what effect does this have on the entire web of existence? Do you see how it's different? Morality versus relational. One says, I don't want to go against the rule. The other says, I'm not going to do this because it's going to disrupt all these things. There's a different way of looking at it. Ma'at is about alignment, not rule collection. The declarations are not primarily commandments, dogma, or imposed restrictions. They are observations about what preserves harmony and what creates imbalance. This is why many declarations are deeply practical, such as stealing food, causing tears, reducing offerings, or false accusations, because daily life itself was considered sacred. So when my aunt's talking about stuff like stealing food and causing tears, and maybe for us, we're like, well, we all know that, right? Nobody would do that. They're saying it's not valued less because it's talking about things we do in everyday life. It's valued more because all of what they did throughout their entire day was sacred. From eating to sharing food to talking to someone to going to the grocery store. Imagine making sacred everything you do. Even if you're just going out to have coffee, going to the movies, grocery shopping, going to the kids' recital, right? Sitting in the mechanic shop working on your car. Every moment was sacred. That's how they viewed life. A different spiritual psychology. In many later religious systems, morality often became obedience centered, authority centered, and sin centered. But Ma'at is more about consequences, harmony, and resonance. Not will I be punished, but what weight does this place upon the heart and the world around me? Why repetition matters spiritually. The repetitions quietly teach that no action exists in isolation. One distortion can echo through ourselves, our families, our societies, through spirit, and through the cosmic order. This is incredibly advanced thinking for the ancient world, and honestly, still very much advanced for our modern one. Here's the hidden esoteric layer. The repeated declarations also function like calibrations, meditations, and resonance checks. By repeating similar truths before different assessors or different consequences, right? The initiate symbolically demonstrates consistency of alignment across all dimensions of being, not just hey, I avoided this once, but my entire way of being seeks harmony. So when I read that, I thought about you ever got in trouble and you figure, or your mother asked you, did you break this? How many times do they ask you if you did something wrong? Think of that like the repeating way of my art. Did you touch that? No. You sure you didn't touch it? Because what happens when they ask you the second time, especially that second time, if you're really guilty, your spirit gonna shake. So the purpose of repeating certain parts of the laws of Ma'at is to really test your spirit to see are you anchored in harmony and alignment here, or is the second time you say it is your spirit gonna it's gonna wobble because you're not sure, you're not true, you know. Tell you it works. You want to know the truth, ask 2 3 times and watch for that shake in the spirit. Why this matters before we continue with the remaining 21. Because if we misunderstand the declarations as merely laws, prohibitions, and moral restrictions, then we miss the living heart of Ma'at entirely. The declarations are better understood as relational harmonics. Each one asks the question, how does your existence affect the balance of life? A quiet reflection before we continue. The people of Kemet, or Egypt, were not trying to create fearful followers. They were attempting to cultivate humans whose hearts naturally resonated with balance. That is a very different spiritual project. And now the chamber is properly prepared. Next, we can move into the remaining 21 declarations themselves with accurate grounding in the papyrus of Ani and layered esoteric meaning that unfolds naturally from the text. I said beautiful. Let's unfold their esoteric meaning. I said, but let's back it up and start at number 20. Excellent choice. Now that the chamber itself is understood, right? Now that we understand the purpose of the feather, how the Egyptians viewed morality, the whole point of repeating certain declarations. Now let's move into the next 21, but we're just going to back up and start at 20. Now that the chamber itself is understood, we can return to the declarations, not as isolated rules, but as living currents within the web of existence. And beginning with 20 is fitting because this is where the relational dimension of Ma'at becomes unmistakably clear. All right, I'm jumping back and forth between the original text and then the understanding of it, the esoteric breakdown with the AI. So let me pull up this page for the original text. We're going to go back to 20 and let's begin. Hail Tutu, who cometh forth from Ati. I have not debauched the wife of any man. At the surface, this concerns adultery, but the deeper issue is intrusion into sacred relational balance. In the worldview of Kemet, relationships were not merely private arrangements, they were energetic and societal bonds. To violate such a union was to fracture trust, create emotional suffering, destabilize family harmony, and introduce hidden tension into the social field. Here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, do I honor boundaries that sustain harmony? Not everything accessible is aligned, and not every desire should become action. The initiate is being taught mastery over impulse in service of balance. Mastery over impulse in service of balance, or ma'at. 21. Hail, Uamenti, who cometh forth from kept chamber. I have not debauched the wives of other men. The repetition itself is the teaching. This second declaration is addressed to a different assessor within the hall. The action is viewed from another angle of consequence. The Egyptians understood one act can ripple through multiple layers of existence. So the repetition becomes a kind of spiritual echo. Social imbalance, emotional imbalance, energetic imbalance, cosmic imbalance. Here's the esoteric layer. The initiate now confronts a subtler question. Am I consistent in integrity across all dimensions of life? Not moral performance, but unified alignment. A fragmented person behaves differently depending on circumstance. A balanced person carries integrity into every chamber. Number 22. Hail, Ma'a Antuf, who cometh forth from Per Minu. I have not polluted myself. This declaration is incredibly profound. Pollution here does not only mean physical impurity, it includes mental corruption, emotional toxicity, spiritual degradation, and intentional self distortion. The body and mind were seen as sacred vessels. Here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, what do I allow into my inner temple? Because what enters repeatedly shapes your consciousness, influences your actions, and alters your resonance. The ancients understood that the soul could become clouded through continual exposure to distortion. And if you've seen a clouded soul, they don't even seem human anymore. The things they do, you're trying to wrap your mind around, like, how could they do this? Because they're blind. They can't see. They can't see. Number 23. Hail, Her Uru, who cometh forth from Nehatu. I have terrorized none. Fear was understood as a disruptive force. To intentionally create fear in others was to destabilize their inner harmony. This declaration is about misuse of power. Here is the esoteric layer. The deeper teaching asks this question: does my presence create safety or fear? Does my presence create safety or fear? A soul aligned with Ma'at does not dominate through intimidation. True power stabilizes, it does not terrorize. Come on now. All right, I see you, Starling. Let's hope your mom believe you and don't punish you anyway. I know. I swear. When we were kids, it wouldn't matter what we said. We told the truth, we told a lie, we were getting whooped anyway. Hey, Antonia. It's good to see you. Good to see you. So when you think of governments, right? And it says fear was understood as a disruptive force. To intentionally create fear in others was to destabilize their inner harmony. So, from a spiritual perspective, when governments wage war on their citizens or people across their lands, they're destabilizing their inner harmony. Do they know this? Yes, they do. That is the whole point. All of this we're going through here in America, purposeful to do just this: destabilize your inner harmony. Because if you are not in harmony, it's easier to control you. If you are not in harmony, you are not powerful. If you are not in harmony, you're disconnected from communicating with the earth and communicating with the universe. You only see the problems right in front of you. It's hard to find solutions when you're destabilized in your harmony. Your harmony would create joy, which would create a life force that would feel negative to beings we call negative. Our happiness, our alignment feels bad to them. So they do all the things to create and destabilize us so that they have an environment they can thrive in. It's like if the bacteria anywhere in your house decided to just take over because they want to live. And they're going to start doing everything they can to take over your toilet bowl, your sink, your tub, your floors, your vents, because they want to thrive. It's like that, right? But my aunt says, no, no, no. You're, the yin will not take over the yang. Everything is in balance. Balance is always the greatest, greatest, greatest importance. Okay, where are we at? 24. Hail, Kemu, Kemu, hail Kemu, who cometh forth from Kawi. I have not transgressed the law. This does not merely refer to human legislation. The law here is deeply tied to the principles of Ma'at itself. To transgress law was to move knowingly against harmony and right order. Here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, do I recognize the consequences of imbalance? The initiate here begins to understand that freedom without alignment becomes chaos, and action without awareness creates suffering. Freedom without alignment becomes chaos. You ever seen little kids run around with no rules, no boundaries, no discipline? You ever seen a room full of kids with no alignment? Freedom without alignment becomes chaos, and action without awareness creates suffering. Number 25. Hail, Shet Keru, who cometh forth from Urit. I have not been angry. And now there was another boat here. Half of us would have been treading water. Anger, anger, anger. Anger itself was not forbidden. Uncontrolled wrath was the issue. Wrath clouds discernment and destabilizes judgment. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the initiate, can I hold fire without becoming consumed by it? The initiate is learning emotional mastery, not suppression, but conscious governance of force. So can I hold my fire, my anger, without being consumed by it? Because you are learning emotional mastery. You're not trying to suppress the anger, right? But you're trying to consciously govern this very powerful force you have, right? Especially if you're always very, very angry. You're a very, very powerful being if you know how to master that force. I'm telling you, you like you're an archangel level if you have a tremendous amount of anger in you. But without conscious awareness, you're just destructive to everyone and everything. But in conscious alignment, you're holding that energy like archangels, that bright pillar of burning light that people always say they see with archangels. That's an energy of anger refined in alignment, right? Produces a very bright, strong, powerful light and force. All right. Number 26. Hail, Nekhenu, who cometh forth from Hequat. I have not shut my ears to the words of truth. This is one of the most psychologically advanced declarations in the entire text. It concerns willful ignorance, not lack of knowledge, but refusal to hear. Here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, am I open to truth even when it is uncomfortable? Because denial creates heaviness in the heart. The initiate learns that truth, any truth resisted, becomes an internal burden. Any truth resisted becomes an internal burden. Okay. Let's go. Where are we? I think we are at 27. Hail, Kenemti, who cometh forth from Kenmit. I have not blasphemed. In the Kemetic context, blasphemy was not simply speaking against religion. It meant violating or dishonoring what is considered sacred. And sacredness was everywhere. The gods, nature, balance, truth, the divine order itself. Here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, do I move through existence with reverence or desecration? Blasphemy at its deepest level is forgetfulness of the sacred nature of life. The initiate is learning consciousness without reverence becomes spiritually hollow. Blasphemy at its deepest level is forgetfulness of the sacred nature of life. The initiate is learning consciousness without reverence becomes spiritually hollow. So if you're doing your spiritual practices and it's not even what your heart really wants to do, sometimes we could do that. We set a routine, but we don't know when to reset the routines. So sometimes you're doing a spiritual routine and it's lost its meaning because it's not even really what you want to be doing. You would rather do the thing your heart desires to do than to sit in the ritual that you don't, where you don't even want to be, because you'd be putting yourself out of alignment. So sometimes we even need to take a break from our rituals and our routines, kind of reset ourselves with what we really want to be doing. Sometimes you're so rigid with the thing, but your body's screaming, take a nap. But you're like, no, I have to do this ritual. I have to do this routine of what I do at home with the kids, with work, with it, and your body's just screaming, take a nap. That's you blaspheming against yourself, putting yourself out of order. Number 28. Hail, Anhetep, who cometh forth from Sal. I am not a man of violence. All right, let's see. Violence here reaches beyond physical force. It reflects domination, uncontrolled aggression, and force without harmony. The Egyptians understood that violence leaves energetic disturbance in both the giver and the receiver. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks, how do I wield power? Power aligned with Ma'at protects and stabilizes. Power disconnected from balance becomes destruction. 29. Hail, Serakeru, who cometh forth from Unaset. I have not been a stirrer up of strife. Are you a stirrer upper of strife? Are you a stirrup? Are you a stirrup? 29 says, this is not merely about arguments. It concerns intentionally generating fragmentation amongst people. The ancients deeply understood social contagion, such as fear, division, and agitation, that they spread through communities like fire. Okay, here's the esoteric layer. This declaration asks, does my presence create coherence or chaos? Some people calm a room, others destabilize it. The initiate is learning responsibility for the emotional field that they generate. Right? Number 30. Hail, Nebheru, who cometh forth from Netfet. I have not acted with undue haste. Yep, that's the rest of us gone from the boat right there. One of the most beautiful declarations in the hall. Haste was seen as the movement disconnected from awareness. Impulsive action bypasses discernment and often creates imbalance. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, am I governed by rhythm or reaction? Ma'at teaches sacred timing, not paralysis and not recklessness, but balanced movement. So are you governed by rhythm or reaction? Balanced movement is sacred timing. 31. Hail, Sekru, who cometh forth from Uten. I have not pried into others' matters. In Jamaica, we say, did you fuss in other people's business? Huh? Are you getting involved in other people's stuff that ain't your problem, ain't your business? This concerns boundaries and rightful knowledge. Not all information belongs to everyone. The Egyptians understood that intrusion itself can become imbalance. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks, can I respect what is not mine to enter? Wisdom includes restraint. A soul aligned with Ma'at does not compulsively invade the inner spaces of others. Give me 50 feet. Don't invade my space. Don't invade my business. Don't invade my energy. The song said, leave people business alone. Leave people business and mind your own. Jamaican rhythm. Leave people's business alone and mind your own. Mind your own business. Number 32. Hail, Neb Abui, who cometh forth from Southie. I have not multiplied my words in speaking. A profound declaration about speech. This is not about condemning communication. Instead, it warns against excessive speech, distortion through endless talking, empty verbosity, and manipulative language. So, to multiply your speaking is excessive speech, distortion through endless talking, empty verbosity. So, you talking, but you ain't saying nothing, and manipulative language. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the questions, do my words carry clarity or noise? The initiate here learns that speech shapes reality. Silence was sacred in many temple traditions because unnecessary speech was believed to dissipate your inner power. And that's when we come up with the words like, he just talking shit. You ever heard somebody say that? You just talking shit. You ever go to buy furniture, mattress, bed, a new car, and you get that fast talker? All right? Or maybe you're married to a fast talker. You try to get one question out of them. Hey, you left work at 8 o'clock. It's 12 in the morning. What happened? And you get an hour and a half of talking, but they ain't saying nothing. Or the fast talking, quick selling guy that's trying to sell you a lemon, and he's just talking around you with numbers, 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 numbers. That is empty verbosity. My new word of the day. Unnecessary speech was believed to dissipate your inner power. Okay. Wade says, I've been cooking, but I'm all ears. Okay, Wade. 333 in Arizona. Wade, what you cooking? I'm curious. What you cooking, Wade? Chili, chicken, pot pie, roast, veggies. Okay. Number 33. Those 333. Hail, Nefertem, who cometh forth from Hetkapah. I have wronged none. I have done no evil. Mm, that's 33. This functions almost like a synthesis declaration. It's not perfection, but alignment of intention and action. Evil here is closer to conscious disruption of harmony. All right? So here they're defining evil as the conscious disruption of harmony. So when you call somebody evil, you're saying they are consciously choosing to disrupt the balance. And that's the key word in whether someone's evil or not. The consciousness of it. Are they conscious of what they're doing? Right? Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, what trace does my existence leave upon the world? Here, the initiate reflects upon the total pattern of their life, not the isolated acts or actions, but the accumulated resonance of their entire existence. So that's what you ought to think about when you say, I have wronged none and I have done no evil. Consider the full weight of all your actions, right? Not just one thing. Number 34. Hail, Tem Sepu, who cometh forth from Pt.2. I have not worked witchcraft against the king. Let's see what this breaks down to. Important to understand carefully. This is not a blanket condemnation of magic. Ancient Egypt openly practiced sacred ritual and Heka. Heka is their magic. Heka is the spiritual force. So when they were very much aware of their spiritual nature and they consciously wielded their spiritual energy, back in Kemetic and Egyptian time, what they wielded was this magic called Heka. The issue is misuse of this spiritual power for the destabilization or harm. So just using magic is not an issue. So don't take issue with everybody who uses magic. Look at the energy of the being. Look at the countenance of the being. Are you a good witch or are you a bad witch? How are you using your magical powers? Because everybody has them. Magic is not inherently wrong or evil. Think of magic like a force, like fire. I can choose to burn this place down, or I can choose to cook some food and share with everyone. It's the choice and the intention behind magic that makes it good or bad, right? Here's the esoteric layer. This asks, how do I use my subtle powers? Knowledge without alignment becomes dangerous. The initiate here is warned. Spiritual force must remain connected to balance and responsibility. The initiate here is warned when it comes to using your magic. Your spiritual force must remain connected to balance and responsibility. This is sometimes how you can have cult leaders who come up. Cult leaders aren't just full of shit and telling all these people lies. Some of them are high-powered magicians who have used their spiritual force of influence likability, the ability to speak words and wrap and bind you in spells, to then tell you you ought to go in your bank account and bring them everything you got. Sell off all your furniture, sell your house and everything, give them the land that your family was supposed to get, move with them into the woods, and go drink this red Kool-Aid. That's a high-powered magician wielding his energy in a negative direction. Because the opposite of that could have been to use those words, that influence, that likability, those spells, to convince someone to find their own power, go back to school, find their sovereignty, believe in themselves, start working out again, do what you love to do. Hey, you are a great mother. Hey, you are smart. So you can use the spells and the magic for very, very, very good things. But it's a choice. 35. Hail Ari M. Abst, who cometh forth from Tibu. I have never stopped the flow of water of a neighbor. Water in Egypt was life itself. To block water was to threaten survival and communal balance. This declaration reflects respect for shared sustenance. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, do I allow life to flow or do I obstruct it? This implies materially, emotionally, and spiritually. Some people nourish flow while others create unnecessary blockage. So even though it's talking about water, they're saying you can also look at it materially, emotionally, or spiritually. How are you nourishing someone's flow of all these things? Or how are you unnecessarily creating a blockage for them? Wade said he's hooking up some lemon muffins from the grocery store and coffee for after dinner. Okay, I see you, Wade. Hey, Lego my ego, beautiful Layla. How are you? See, I said it right this time. Lego my ego. She says, yes, self-love is the best love, mind, body, and spirit. It's good to see you. And I remembered your card. I have that deck for you. All right. Number 36. We're wrapping it up. Oh, let me open up this window so I can get some more light in here. Hold on. Let's get some light in here. There we go. Number 36. Hail, Ahi, who cometh forth from Nu. I have never raised my voice. And at this point, it's an empty boat sailing on the water. We've all done that. Just the other day, I was yelling at my dogs. I'm like, ah, man, that's when I know I'm out of alignment. When I start yelling at my dogs too much, I got to go sit my ass down and meditate because it's been too long. So I definitely need to work on this. This does not mean one must never speak loudly. It refers more to uncontrolled outburst, aggressive speech, and domineering communication. The Egyptians associated emotional excess with imbalance. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, does my voice carry harmony or force? The initiate here learns that true authority rarely needs to shout. 37. Hail, Uachrekit, who cometh forth from Sal. I have not cursed God. This is about relationship with the sacred order itself. To curse the divine was to reject harmony and gratitude toward existence. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, am I in hostility towards existence itself? A heart consumed by bitterness becomes heavy. The initiate here learns reverence even amid difficulty. All right? A heart consumed by bitterness becomes heavy. You're always trying to keep your heart light. 38. Hail, Nehebka, who cometh forth from thy cavern. I have not acted with arrogance. Arrogance was imbalance of self-perception. The Egyptians valued proper proportion. Neither self-erasure nor self-inflation was allowed. The Egyptians valued proper proportion, that's balance. So they did not value self-erasure nor overinflation, self-inflation. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, do I see myself clearly? Arrogance isolates consciousness from truth. Arrogance isolates consciousness from truth. Humility in Ma'at is accurate alignment, not a form of weakness. So to be humble, to have humility where the laws of Ma'at are concerned, was not considered a weakness. It was considered a strength. 39. All right, we're moving. Hail, Neheb-Nefert, who cometh forth from thy cavern. I have not stolen the bread of the gods. Bread symbolized sacred sustenance and offering. To steal from the gods meant taking what was consecrated for divine relationship. To steal from the gods meant taking what was consecrated for divine relationship. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks, do I misuse what is sacred? The initiate here learns that not all resources exist for personal consumption. Some things must remain honored. And what I love about the laws of Ma'at is even when I say something like that not all resources exist for personal consumption, something must remain honored. For every single one of us watching, that means something different. Because we all have different value systems around these things. And that's what I love about it, because it's very specific to your consciousness. Number 40. Hail, Tep, who cometh forth from the shrine. I have not carried away the kinfu cakes from the spirits of the dead. Kinfu cakes. This concerns offerings made for ancestors and departed souls. To take them was to violate sacred continuity between worlds. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the questions, do I honor those who came before me? The Egyptians saw life as interwoven across generations, and respect for the dead maintained balance among the living. Respect for the dead maintained balance among the living. So there are people who will go and rob a grave because they know somebody was buried with something of value. There's somebody right now who will walk past a gravesite and take the flowers and go home and say, honey, I'm home. I bought you flowers. And they took that from a grave. To take them was to violate the sacred continuity between worlds. Respect for the dead maintained balance among the living. 41. Hail, Anaf, who cometh forth from Maati. I have not snatched away the bread of the child, nor treated with contempt the God of my city. A deeply relational declaration. Children represented innocence and future continuity. To deprive them was profound imbalance. Likewise, contempt toward one's city god reflected rejection of communal harmony. Here's the esoteric layer. This asks the question, do I protect what is vulnerable and foundational? The initiate here learns that civilization survives through care, not merely power. And there are some situations where instead of it being a deeper meaning, it's exactly what it says. I have not snatched away the bread of a child. Because some people will be in their homes and feed themselves before their children even eat. Their kids will go days without eating, but they'll make sure they're good. Or you get a new partner in the home, right? You're seeing if this is going to be the new daddy or the new mommy, and they're in there eating up all the kids' foods, eating up all their cereal. How you let somebody in your home who's gonna eat up your kids' food? So some people literally, when they make these rules like this, it's also literal, but it's also deeper, and it depends on the situation. That's what I love about it. Stop letting people eat up your kids' food. Make sure your kids eat, man. Number 42. We have come to the end. Hail, Hetcht Hapu, who cometh forth from Tashe. I have not slain the cattle belonging to the god. Sacred cattle represented divine provision, ritual life, and communal stability. This declaration concerns violation of what sustains sacred order. Here's the esoteric layer. This final declaration asks, do I preserve what nourishes harmony? And beautifully, the hall ends not with abstract philosophy, but with stewardship, because Ma'at is ultimately lived through care, restraint, reverence, and relationship. The great pattern beneath all 42. Now that the full arc can be seen, something extraordinary emerges. The declarations are not simply rules. They are calibrations of consciousness. Together, they refine speech, appetite, power, desire, emotion, relationship, stewardship, and reverence, until the heart itself becomes light enough to balance against the feather of Ma'at. And now the second chamber stands complete. Only one remains unopened. So let's go and complete this third one so we can wrap this all up. Yes, eating up the kids' cereal. Ain't that a shame? Chamber 3, Ma'at and the Commandments. So I asked the question, this chamber should be quite revealing. I said, let us take our time and dissect this with the precision of the opened eye. The opened eye examines the two moral architectures. So now we enter carefully, because this chamber has been approached in many ways before, defensively, competitively, politically, and emotionally. But that is not our path today. We are not here to declare winners. We are here to see things clearly. And to do that, we must first understand the 42 declarations of Ma'at and the 10 commandments, that they emerge from different spiritual frameworks. So the 42 laws of Ma'at and the 10 commandments emerge from very different spiritual frameworks. First, here's the shared ground. Before exploring the differences, we must acknowledge something very important. Both systems value truth, restraint, social harmony, reverence, accountability, and protection against destructive behavior. For example, Ma'at says, do not steal. The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not steal. Ma'at says, do not lie. The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not bear false witness. Ma'at says, do not violate sacred unions. The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not commit adultery. Ma'at says, respect sacred order. The Ten Commandments say, honor God. So there is overlap. But beneath the surface, the foundations begin to diverge dramatically. Here's the first great difference: declaration versus command. This is the first open-eyed realization. The 42 declarations are spoken as I have not. The commandments are spoken as thou shalt not. This seems small at first. It is not small. It reveals two very different relationships between the human being, morality, and authority. In Ma'at, the initiate stands before the hall and declares, this is what I have become. The emphasis is the internal state that is revealed through your lived action. The declarations are reflective, self-accounting, relational, and experiential. The soul itself is speaking. In the commandments, the moral structure is presented externally. God commands, do not. The emphasis becomes obedience to divine authority. Morality here is framed as a covenant, as a law, and as a submission to instruction. The authority is who speaks first. So in the laws of Ma'at, the soul is speaking first by saying, I have not. In the Ten Commandments, the authority is speaking first by saying, thou shalt not. The opened eye notices that Ma'at asks, are you aligned? And the commandments ask, are you obedient? Now, this does not mean one system lacks depth or ethics, but their orientations differ profoundly. Here's the second great difference: cosmic balance versus divine will. In Ma'at, morality is woven into the fabric of existence itself. Truth is not true because a deity commands it. Truth is true because harmony sustains it. The universe itself is an entire relational order. How does everything relate to everything else to create balance, right? In the biblical framework, morality is rooted primarily in the will and the authority of God. An action is wrong because it violates divine law. It breaks the covenant and it opposes God's command. This creates a different psychological orientation. Here's Ma'at's core question: what effect does this action have upon harmony? Here's the commandment's core question: have you obeyed the law of God? Again, there's overlap in the behavior, but a divergence in the metaphysical framing. So it overlaps in many ways, but just it's coming from a different point of view. Here's the third great difference: internal resonance versus external judgment. This one is profound. In the hall of Ma'at, the heart weighs itself against truth. The heart itself carries the record. There's no belief statement that can override any imbalance. In later Abrahamic traditions, judgment becomes increasingly externalized. God judges, divine authority evaluates, and salvation can become linked to faith, covenant, and obedience. Whereas in Ma'at, resonance itself is what reveals truth. The scale does not punish, it reveals. Here's the fourth great difference: multiplicity versus centralization. The 42 declarations are spoken before many assessors, many aspects of cosmic order, and many relational dimensions. This reflects a worldview of interconnected complexity. So that's the multiplicity of Ma'at. It's looking at things from many different angles, from many different perspectives, about all the many ways this has rippled through family, community, the cosmos, right? It takes into account the entire fabric of everything. The commandments, they come from one God, one authority, and one covenant structure. This reflects a more centralized divine sovereignty. The fifth great difference: what is the human being? This may be the deepest layer of all. In Ma'at, the human is viewed as a participant in the cosmic balance. The goal is alignment, harmony, refinement of the heart, and proper relation with existence. The ideal human becomes light, balanced, truthful, and integrated. In the commandment tradition, humanity is often framed as fallen, prone to sin, and requiring divine guidance and redemption. The moral framework addresses restraint of sinful tendency through divine law. Here's a critical nuance, and this is very important. This comparison should not be simplified as Ma'at is good and the biblical traditions are bad. That would itself violate Ma'at through distortion, because both systems contain wisdom, ethical guidance, attempts to reduce suffering, and methods of preserving order. But they emerge from different understandings of reality and human nature. Let's think of it like a mother and a father. They have very different ways of raising a child, teaching a child, giving a child understanding and discipline. Two very different perspectives. Or just think of two parents and the way they parent very differently. But it doesn't change that their intention is what's best for their child, right? In the end, they have two very different ways of going about it, but they both want the same thing for the child, no matter how different the execution is. All right. The deepest contrast of all, perhaps the clearest way to feel the difference is this. In Ma'at, the soul says, I have lived in harmony. In commandments, God says, live according to my law. One emerges more from resonance with cosmic balance, and the other from relationship to the divine authority. So as it says, final reflection in the chamber of the opened eye. And now perhaps we can understand why the feather mattered so much. Because in Ma'at, the ultimate question was not, what did you claim to believe? But what weight did your existence place upon the entire world? All right. Let me go through here. All right, so here's another breakdown. The commandments are concise, directive, authority-centered, and covenant-based. They are framed as God commanding behavior. The 42 declarations are reflective, relational, self-declarative, and resonance-based. They are framed as the soul accounting for its lived alignment. This suggests something interesting. Even if there is some influence that existed as to whether or not the Ten Commandments were influenced by the laws of Ma'at. The 42 declarations are not a simple law code. They function more like ritual affirmations, moral calibrations, and spiritual self-assessment, whereas the Ten Commandments function more as foundational covenant law, divine instruction, and communal religious structure. So comparing them one to one can sometimes flatten both systems. So what can we say honestly? This is what's likely true, is that Egyptian ethical ideas are older than the commandments. That cultural interaction did exist between those who created the commandments and those who adhered to the laws of Ma'at. They were culturally at times overlapping because of trade and travel. Moral parallels are real, and influence is possible and even plausible. But what is not historically proven is that the Ten Commandments are a direct copying of the 42 declarations. So this is the most accurate framing, that the two systems may reflect some overlapping ancient moral currents interpreted through different spiritual worldviews. So it's as if two very different cultures started sharing their belief systems, but they're still seeing it through their own culture's eyes. So if I'm a Jamaican and I make jerk chicken, and then I cross into a Chinese family and they make their version of jerk chicken, one is still going to be Chinese jerk chicken and one's still going to be Jamaican jerk chicken. They're still trying to create the same dish, but it's going to still be through their spices, their own personal way of cooking, the pots they use, the temperature, the heat, still very different, even though they're calling it the same thing. Here's the final reflection. Perhaps the deeper revelation is not who copied whom, but how did different civilizations understand the relationship between humans, truth, and order? Because that is where the real divergence appears. And once seen, the feather and the stone tablets begin to reveal two different visions of consciousness itself. All right, so we're about to wrap up. I said, so let's wrap this up and circle back home. Whether we follow the stone tablets or the feathered laws, I said, what is the divine takeaway from them both? I said, let's make it relatable and lasting on the consciousness. The return home, the divine takeaway of the tablets and the feather. Come, let us leave the chambers slowly now. The oil lamps dim, the temple grows quiet, and all the comparisons, symbols, and scrolls begin to settle into something simpler, something human. Because after all the analysis, one great truth remains. Both the feather of Ma'at and the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments were attempts to answer the same ancient question. How should a human being live? The feather says, live in balance. Let your heart become light. Move in harmony with life. The teachings of Ma'at whisper, your actions ripple outward. Your inner state matters. Truth is something you become, and harmony is sacred. The feather teaches that every thought, every word, every action shapes the weight of your soul. The tablets say, honor what is sacred. Do not destroy one another, and remember your responsibilities. The commandments teach restraint, accountability, reverence, ethical boundaries. They remind humanity that freedom without wisdom becomes destructive. And here is the beautiful secret. Though the languages differ, both systems are trying to protect life, trust, community, balance, and the sacred thread connecting human beings to something greater than themselves. Both are asking humanity to rise above greed, cruelty, deception, and unconsciousness. Both are trying to prevent the heart from hardening. One system says become aligned, the other says remain obedient to divine law. But beneath both is a deeper call. Do not become lost from your highest nature. The ancients were not speaking only about temples, rituals, and afterlife halls. They were speaking about ordinary moments. The real weighing of the heart happens when you speak to someone in pain, when anger arises inside you, when temptation appears, when no one is watching, when truth becomes inconvenient, and when kindness costs something. That is the living temple. The feather and the stone in everyday life. Sometimes life asks for the softness of the feather, compassion, flexibility, listening, and harmony. And sometimes life is asking for the firmness of the stone tablet, boundaries, discipline, courage, and moral clarity. Wisdom is learning when each one is needed. So sometimes you might need the flow of the laws of Ma'at. Sometimes you might need those hard boundaries of the Ten Commandments. The wisdom is in learning when to use each one. The deepest divine takeaway. Perhaps the ancients across all lands were trying to teach one enduring truth, that human beings are powerful creators whose inner condition shapes the world around them. A fearful heart spreads fear. A peaceful heart spreads peace. A deceptive mind fractures trust. And a truthful soul stabilizes reality. So, whether through feathers, commandments, sutras, songs, prayers, or silence, humanity has always been searching for the same thing: how to live in a way that keeps the soul connected to truth. The last whisper before we leave the temple. At the end of the journey, the feather does not ask, were you perfect? The tablets do not ask, did you never struggle? The deeper question beneath both may simply be, did you remember the sacredness of being alive? And did you try to walk in alignment with it? And perhaps that is the bridge between all true wisdom traditions: to become lighter, kinder, more balanced, more truthful, and more awake to the living miracle of existence itself. And with that, we wrapped up part two. Yay! That was so good. That was so good. So you don't have to choose. The universe just gave you multiple ways to figure out how to be a good human being. And you would think, with all the Bibles, the sacred books, the sacred works that have been left behind, something would have stuck, but we're still struggling. So don't choose. There should be no such thing as a holy war. You're not picking and choosing which belief system is the right one that's going to get you into heaven. It's saying find the common thread of truth in all of them so you can experience heaven right here on this earth as you are living today. Stop preparing for the afterlife and the death and doing the most outrageous things to get your good spot in heaven. Study, be intuitive, Be aware, be kind, understand yourself. Don't disrupt the fabric of existence, and you will experience your heaven right where you are. I think that's the overall thing. Hope this was interesting and entertaining for you. Layla says, beautiful. Antonia got a heart. Layla says, for me, it's remembering who we are. We are love. Anything else is distortion. Absolutely. They say there's only two emotions, love and fear. So if you're not in love, you're in fear, and then fear expresses itself as all these other emotions. But there's only ever two, love or fear. Wade said, my research into cosmic law and justice started with the goddess Themis, then to Sophia. That led me to Athena, then Ma'at. Thank you for your service to others with your shows and readings. You're welcome, Wade. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we're going to start off with the cards. Layla, I'm going to pull your card first. So I have, these are the decks I have. I have this deck, which you guys know. Layla, that's the one you said you wanted, but you might change your mind. I don't know. I have this one. My guys said pick this one today. I usually don't pick this deck, but they said pick that one. And then this one. Okay. So let me know what cards you want. From what deck? This one, Gods and Guardians, the Animal Spirit, or the Activation. I'm going to make sure I don't miss nobody. I'm going to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay, so Layla, you still want from the Gods and Goddesses. All right, let's hook you up first, because you asked me last time. Let's go for, and I made sure I saged these. I saged them. Saged them, saged them. For Layla. This one. Ooh, Kadesh. Sexual wisdom, which is so funny because I want to say when I pulled for my nephew, he pulled this one, but from the African deck. Sexual wisdom for you, Miss Layla. Let's see. Kadesh. I gotta look up that goddess now. That energy's coming up a lot. Wait a minute. What am I looking at here? Okay, Q. All right. Kadesh, sexual wisdom, says embrace intimacy and celebrate your sexuality. Kadesh is an ancient Egyptian goddess of sacred ecstasy. Her origins are in the Canaanite regions of ancient Levant in the Middle East. Her name was Kadshu, which means holy one. It's said that in Levant, the cult of Kadesh involved recreating the rite of sexual marriage, the rite of sacred marriage. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. It said that in Levant, the cult of Kadesh involved recreating the rite of sacred marriage. Priestesses called Kadasha, holy or pure ones, may have been sacred prostitutes, women who offer sex as a sacrament or sacred feminine healing act. In Egypt, she rode naked on the back of a lion, holding a snake, a lotus flower, and papyrus plants. Kadesh possessed great knowledge of sexuality as an expression of the divine. This card signifies a time of sexual healing and new experiences of intimacy. Kadesh can activate your intuitive wisdom about sex as a sacred, nourishing force. She says the easiest way to access your sexual spiritual knowledge is to tune into your body, be still, and become aware of your breath. If you can, place one hand on your heart area and the other on your belly, or simply focus on the sensations of your body. Imagine your sexual energy as a spark of light flowing through you. Ask yourself, what does my sexual wisdom want me to know? Listen to the first feeling or impression that arises. If nothing comes, don't worry. You're tuning into your higher sexual consciousness, whether you know it or not. The insights may come hours, days, or weeks later. Maybe you want to be more sexually expressive and creative. Or do you need permission to experiment with being polyamorous or celibate, for example? It could be that sexual blocks or trauma are coming up for healing. I'll lead you to the right support. Offer up all your desires and wishes about the sacred erotic to me. Let me bring you to all the sensual pleasure you deserve. Here's the additional meanings. Explore sacred ecstasy rituals on how sex connects to the divine. Work with a sex therapist or relationship counselor and communicate your sexual needs to your partners. Here's the invocation. My sexuality is natural. I'm worthy of ecstatic pleasures. My sexuality is natural. I am worthy of ecstatic pleasures. My sexuality is natural. I am worthy of ecstatic pleasures. And I'm telling you, we all need to do this because sexual wisdom, I'm telling you, you ain't manifesting until you get this part in balance, this part in harmony. Your sexual creative power is the most powerful manifestation tool you have. So if there's any distortions around your sexual nature in any way, it's going to affect your creativity. That's a nice card. Kadesh. And trust me, when they use the word prostitutes for back in Kemetic and Egyptian times, that was not an insult. Sacred prostitution was divine, sacred and holy. And it blends with the song that kicked it all off. You can ring my bell. Oh, Lord, let me not scare the cats. All right, touchdown, said Layla. Wow, creativity and sensuality for sure. Ooh, Layla. Go on with your bad self, Layla. All right, Wade. You want the activation card. So, Wade, just to be sure, you want this one. I think that's the one you want. All right. Layla, Layla. Gonna unleash your sexual power. All right, Wade. Wade, Wade, Wade. All right. Wade. Yes, sir. Yeah, baby. Wade, you've been on a roll. Wade's been on a roll. The frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies a hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. It assists us in finding the balance within this intensity, moving us from chaos to the calm of its core, where we can let its long lasting wisdom fill us up. Let me see what the book says. Passion number 34. Mm-hmm. I like these energies today. When we use the word passion, we usually refer to a strong feeling for something or someone. It could be a burning desire or a feeling of enthusiasm or intense emotion. Passion expresses itself powerfully, like a burning hot fire as it radiates out from our core. This power cannot be hidden, it demands expression. We long for an emotion that is so strong that all we can do is surrender to its power. At the same time, we fear this kind of emotion because we are afraid of losing ourselves, our sense of who we are in the eye of the passion storm within us. But there is clarity and insight to be found in this storm once we have withstood the heat of the fire and have held our balance in the midst of the blazing inferno. Only then can we move to the center and find the insight at passion's core. The passion activation card reveals this process of powerful insight through its purple core, its demand for expression, which is the blue around the core, and the storm of the intense feelings and emotions all around, represented by the orange, yellow, and red of the lower chakras. It invites us to become aware of and to burn away anything that stands in the way of finding the valuable insights at its core. And although it could be enjoyable to feel these intense emotions, we cannot stay in this heat for very long without getting burned. So try this. Take a moment to go inside yourself. What are you really passionate about? Do you love what you do in your daily life? Are your heart and soul engaged? How can you bring more passion into your life? How can you make sure that you don't miss the treasure of insights that lies beneath it? Make time for daily contemplation to check in with yourself and your passions. So let me show this card again. It's an activation card. So let me show it again. So it says that purple at the core is the passion activation reveals this process of powerful insight through the purple core. Its demand for expression, which is the blue around the core, and the storm of intense feelings and emotions all around, represented by the orange, yellow, and red of the lower chakras. It invites us to become aware of and to burn away anything that stands in the way of finding the valuable insights at its core. So, this card is meant to work on your subconscious when you look at it. So, find your passion, Wade. Your something inside you is yearning to connect with something passionate. And Wade laughs again. All right. Wade is a lover, not a fighter. Okay. Let's go. We're going to keep going. Who wants a card? I'm becoming an owl now. Who? Who? This one? This one? What's calling you? Yeah, I know. That sounds like an owl. Or this one. I know somebody out there wants one. Come on, baby. I'm getting ready to pull. I'm feeling something good. Who's next? Go on, Starling. Which one you want? Which one you want? Which one you want? Let it resonate. You're absolutely welcome, Wade. Oh, yeah, I gotta make sure I don't miss anybody. Last time I missed somebody. Let's see. Oh, Julie Bop, you want activation. Okay, good. I will do that for you. Let's activate Julie Bop. Let's see. For Julie, for Julie, for Julie. Mm-mm. Synergy. The frequency of synergy supports our allowance and acceptance of not so obvious, never seen before combinations and unions that result in new ways of functioning, working, thinking, relating, loving, and being. It reminds us to embrace the unfamiliar so that new yet exciting co creations can give birth to a new reality. So look out for the not so obvious, never before seen combinations that's going to come together and change your life. Synergy. Let's see what synergy says. 41. The origin of the word synergy comes from working together, and it can be described as the result of something that is greater than the simple sum of its individual parts. In the new energy, we can expect synergy to not only refer to a process with an outcome that is greater, but to one that involves uniting elements, energies, and even undefined attributes to create something that is completely new, different, and unexpected. This brings a wondrous element of magic to the whole process. In this activation, synergy is represented through the uncommon and rather bold choice of color combinations. By itself, pink represents the divine feminine attributes of love, nurturing, stillness, and receptivity, and the bright yellow-green colors represents the new energy through clarity, beauty, and exhilaration. Purple brings in consciousness and insight, while the opening at the top represents the channel that allows input from a higher place. This communication is taken in, brought to the core, surrounded by loving pink and light, and transcended for release into the earth plane in an appropriate energy that is in alignment with the consciousness there. The effects of this release are ripple through the emotional planes, the water, the mental plane, the blue, and can even affect us on the DNA level, which is the coding in the background. I'll show you the card again so that all of that makes sense. Try this. Take a moment to go outside, to go inside yourself and think about a situation when seemingly very different people come together and work towards a wonderful result. Now, think about a personal goal of yours. Who can you bring together to help you accomplish your goal? And what about a global goal? Can you think about it and do the same? So take a moment, Julie, to go inside yourself and think about a situation when seemingly very different people come together and work towards a wonderful result. Now think about a personal goal of yours. Who can you bring together to help you accomplish your goal? Where's your card? So let me go back over so you can see the descriptions of this again. So this is the activation card. You're meant to stare at this one, okay? So in this activation, synergy is represented through the uncommon and rather bold choice of color combinations. By itself, pink represents the divine feminine attributes of love, nurturing, stillness, and receptivity. And the bright yellow-green color represents the new energy through clarity, beauty, and exhilaration. Purple brings in consciousness and insight, while the opening at the top represents the channel that allows input from a higher place. This communication is taken in and brought to the core, surrounded by loving pink and light, and transcended for release into the earth plane in an appropriate energy that is in alignment with the consciousness there. Okay? So hopefully that all makes sense to you. These cards are very powerful. They don't work in a way that makes sense right away. It's abstract because it has to go past your rational mind trying to make sense of it so it can get to the soul. When we have a lot of barriers that prevent cosmic knowledge from reaching us, the universe comes to us in abstraction. So this, even though it just looks like this random little symbol, is imprinting a new way of being into your soul. Think of it like you want to make an outfit, right? Because you're a seamstress, you sew. But you're going to put together combinations that other people would say that don't make sense to put that together. You can't put ruffles and pleats, or you can't, but you're going to do it in a way that it creates something new and it makes sense and no one has ever seen it before. So think about it like that, if it makes sense. That you're going to create an outfit, but you're going to use designs and patterns and folds and stitching that people have never put together before, but to you it's going to make sense. So think of it like that. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, funny you said that. Julie, we got you. Starling, you want from the animal deck. All right. Let's pull from the animal deck for Starling. This one we're pulling for you. For Starling. Okay. Fly away, little card. Cheetah. Look at that one. Ooh, she cute. Look at that. Cheetah number 22. Let's see what Cheetah says for you, my love. Cheetah. Mbale, divine feminine. Cheetah asks you to honor your feminine life force by sharing your divine passion. Is that passion again? Acknowledge the yin energy on the planet as unconditionally beautiful and nourishing. You are an essential part of this radiant feminine energy that feeds the planet. Often, when the land suffers degradation, the essence of human spirit also frays. Celebrate the divine feminine energy in a sacred way with the special women in your life. Treat them to a handmade gift, a dinner, or circle of inspiring communication. Gentlemen, if you have drawn this card, it is time to honor and appreciate the women in your life for their essence of beauty, nurturing, and sensuality. When we exude and share love for our sisters, we also bring greater love to ourselves. Celebrate the divine feminine energy in a sacred way with the special women in your life. Treat them to a handmade gift, a dinner, or a circle of inspiring communication. That's nice. That's nice, darling. According to these cards, you owe me dinner. And you owe Candy a handmade gift. Oh, God, this is funny. I love this. All right, who's next? All right, we got Starling with the animal. Antonia, I see you. Whichever your, I think your heart reached for, okay? Antonia, you want me to just pick for you? I'm gonna pick for you. And I'm gonna pick from this one for you. This is Antonia. Antonia. Flyer. Again. Uh-huh. Antonia. Rhiannon. Inner strength. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see what she has for you. Rhiannon. Inner strength. Don't give up now. You can do this. Rhiannon is a Welsh lady of the other world whose name means great queen. She features in medieval manuscripts called the Mabinogion. Rhiannon twice avoided arranged marriages and was falsely accused of murdering her own baby. Refusing to blame those who wronged her, she instead rose above adversity by taking command of her female power. Rhiannon worked from within an unjust social structure to improve her circumstances, rather than trying to escape it entirely. A goddess of strength and sovereignty, Rhiannon encourages us to heal the inner victim. Her many symbols include the moon, white mares, moonstones, and white flowers. Beautiful Rhiannon rides in on a white horse, bathing you in her smooth, moonlight glow. She sees that you need a reminder of your inner strength. Jumping down from her saddle, she confidently takes your arm in hers as you walk together through a magical forest. It may feel as if life is stacked against you or that your challenges are just too much to bear. Rhiannon says softly, I see the weight upon your back, the uphill climb, the obstacles in your path. Let's set your burdens down for a moment as you gaze into my eyes. I invoke your great spiritual powers of endurance. You were made for this life of determined empowerment, and you will reach your destinations. Don't crumble now. You have what it takes to go the distance. I'll never ask you to ignore your suffering or fatigue, but your instant remedy is to remember your sovereignty and greatness. Recall your enormous capacity to triumph within seemingly impossible circumstances. Reflect upon your inspiring perseverance in the face of any oppressive system that doesn't honor you. Stay devoted to the path that's calling now. You're stronger than you know. Here's the additional meanings. If you're feeling defeated or overwhelmed, ask for help. Don't let the past define your present. This relationship or situation requires your commitment now. Your current challenge holds a hidden gift. Here's the invocation. Challenges and adversity bring forth my majestic strength. Challenges and adversity bring forth my majestic strength. Challenges and adversity bring forth my majestic strength. That is your message. That's a beautiful card. Ooh, yeah. Lord, I don't know why I'm so damn hot right now. My Kundalini is heating up. I got the AC on, I got the fan on, and I'm still sweating. Whew, hope it's not the change. All right, let's see. Antonia, that was you. All right, Can, which one do you want? Which one do you want, Candy? All right, Wade, it's been fun, but I gotta go run. My selfless rice and beans and chicken is ready to see. All right, have fun, Wade. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your food. Take care. Yeah, that was a great card, Layla. Candy. Candy says she wants activation, or she says you pick. Antonia says very timely. I just got home from a 4 mile walk. Okay, Candy, you want me to pick? If I pick for you, I'm gonna pick this one. I like this energy for you. I'm gonna pick from this one for you. For Candy, for Candy, for Candy. Let's see. Okay. Here you go again. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kalima. Kalima. She don't play. She does not play. Mm-mm. Yes, sir. Let's see. Spiritual transformation, a cycle of intense rebirth. This is your awakening. Hindu goddess Kali Ma is a fierce powerhouse of the creative feminine life force or Shakti energy. The ultimate spiritual transformer, Kali confronts you with your darkest fears while simultaneously activating your eternal light. Her razor sharp swords destroy everything that isn't authentic, and her skulls represent the death of the ego. Hello. Kali is a lightning bolt of truth that initiates sweeping change. Working with Kali can be an intense process of stripping away, yet it reveals your deepest spiritual power. Her symbols are the void, the cutlass, skulls, and red hibiscus flowers, aka Saril. When everything turns upside down, the rug is swept from under you, and the shock of the unexpected reverberates through your entire being. It's likely that Kali Ma is at work. Nothing feels certain right now, and you may feel vulnerable, raw, and confronted with your deepest fears. These are not easy feelings to manage, and you might want to run away from this surge of emotion or exert hard control over the rapidly shifting circumstances in your life. Trust the divine plan as you're entering a phase of phenomenal transformation. Kali leads you to an empty, stripped back space, bringing you face to face with your naked truth. You may see who you really are. Kali will stretch you beyond all your perceived limits, haul you outside of your comfort zone, and shake you awake with sacred revelations. Your ego will fear her, but no other goddess sees your spiritual potential quite like Kali Ma. You may be facing a cycle of intense life shifts, but remember, you'll never be given anything you can't handle. Even though life may feel unraveled right now, Kali always has your back. Stare fearlessly into the void. The time has come to be nothing less than your spectacular true self. Here's the additional meanings. Taking it one day at a time can help you through a personal loss or dramatic change. This situation is a blessing in disguise. Here's the invocation. Out of chaos comes divine order. My spirit roars with truth. Out of chaos comes divine order. My spirit roars with truth. Out of chaos comes divine order. My spirit roars with truth. Wow. She don't play. Don't mess around. She don't play. Said the skulls is all the ego she slayed. Yes, sir. She got the cutlass, the fire, the will, the desire. Layla says she got me wanting some sorrel and some italk food. Layla, what you know about sorrel? Starling says, watch out now, it's the little one, and it ain't Bow Wow. Ah, all right, anybody else? Last call, last call, last call. Layla says she know a lot, huh? I'm still on live, Flo. All right, all right. I see you, Layla. You with the Jamaican vibes over there. I see you. All right. Anybody else? You wrapping up? Oh, I'll pull one for myself until anybody decides they want. I'm gonna pull from the animal deck. Let's pull the animal card for myself. I'm pulling from this one. For me, for me, for me, for me. And then we wrap it up. Oh, Lord, it's been 2 hours, 19 minutes. All right, come on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've been noticing mine take a minute. Okay, here we go. Top of the deck, top of the deck. Elephant. That's beautiful. And I love the elephant. I painted a beautiful elephant for my mom with all three of her kids surrounding her. Number 6. Okay. Here's the elephant. Compassion. We are all born as loving, compassionate human beings. Allow your own compassion to flow through you by releasing worry, fear, or unhealthy judgments. If elephant chose you today, it's time to be extra compassionate towards yourself and others. Elephant reminds you that your abundant compassion, sensitivity, and intelligence will support you to overcome any challenges you may encounter now or in the future. Just as the elephant never stops growing in physical size, you too can continue to expand your sense of compassion and understanding of humanity. Elephant signifies the importance of self love and reminds you of the role you play in Mother Earth's divine plan. Love and compassion act as a healing modality that cures all. Okay, message received, universe. Have more compassion towards myself and others because it's a part of my divine plan. I got it. That's a good message for me. I'll take that. I'll take that. Now I'm gonna make a quick call while I'm on here. Okay. Because I think somebody I know wants a card, but they're not gonna put it in here. So let me see. I'm on live now. Do you want a card? No, it's not coming up. I haven't seen anything. Uh, Listen, okay, so you want one from the goddess and the gods and one from the activation deck. Okay, I got you. All right, bye. She said she's been typing away, but I don't see it in here. She wants an activation one. This is my beautiful niece, Flojo. She wants a mix from this one and the gods and goddesses. So I'm gonna pull from the activation first and mix and match for you. For flow, for flow, for flow. What does she need to know? All right, let me set that down right there. And let me pull from this one for you for flow. Mash up. Okay. So she pulled divine masculine. Inanna. Ooh, these are nice. Number 22, Divine Masculine says the frequency of Divine Masculine supports our strong, focused, and active side, allowing it to express itself while helping us to bring our dreams and ideas into form with kindness and wisdom. Divine Masculine. Number 22. Divine Masculine says the frequency. Okay, I already read that. Three-dimensional reality is based on the duality between opposites and their external movement towards union. Everything is created in pairs: male, female, matter, spirit, empty, full, dark, light, and so on. Without the tension caused by the magnetic push and pull of duals, there would be no movement. And without movement, there would be no life as we know it. When the push and pull of opposites is equal, a state of balance is achieved. For humans to live harmoniously with each other, the masculine and the feminine have to reach a state of union, both outward in relationship to each other, as well as inward in a balanced state of heart, mind, and soul. The masculine and feminine attributes inside all of us have to be fully realized, understood, and expressed. Now that we are moving into a new energy, the enhanced qualities of these two opposites in human nature are emerging and urging us to let go of the roles we have traditionally assigned in the past, allowing a new masculinity and a new femininity to arise. The divine masculine is strong, directed, sensual, and balanced, yet conscious, gentle, and compassionate, able to facilitate the expression of the divine feminine. This masculinity is focused, active, and intrinsically connected to the material, physical world, providing security, structure, and reason. The dark blue refers to the vast and dark universe. The swirling circles in the background represent other dimensions and star systems beyond this earth that are at our origin. All the straight lines are the linear aspects associated with the masculine. The crystals and the diamond shapes symbolize the beauty and immeasurable value that truly expressed masculinity holds. The spirals, you see the spirals a little bit? They're kind of faded. The spirals refer to the flowing feminine nature that is also part of a true divine masculinity. The number 4 represents the form-based world we live in. Try this. Close your eyes and go inside. The masculine nature is to protect, provide, and take action with kindness and wisdom. How are you using your masculine power? How do you reach your goals? Do you get things done? Are you kind and wise in the process? List 5 things that you got accomplished this week that you can feel proud of. So tap into your own masculine energy, your new masculine. And then when you understand what that is, your divine masculine will show up for you. aligned with what you already know it to be. Sometimes we want divine masculines and we have no idea what that is within us. Your divine counterpart shows up when you have acknowledged it within yourself. That's a beautiful card for you. All right, let's tap into this one. Beautiful Inanna, believe in yourself. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. First, I gotta find the, where did I put the dang card? Ah, here we go. Inanna. Trust in your dreams and abilities and let self doubt fall away. Inanna was worshipped by the ancient Sumerians for over 3,000 years. Her journey of death and rebirth is the oldest of its kind, preceding Persephone and Jesus by millennia. Earth Mother Inanna ventured through the seven gates of the underworld, removing one of her garments at each gate. Some believe that these gates represent purification of her seven chakras. When Inanna meets her angry sister, Erishkigal, it sparks her unconscious memory, and she remembers her once forgotten sacred dreams. Inanna is killed by her sister, a symbolic release of all Inanna's self limiting beliefs. After 3 days, she returns to life as the Queen of Heaven. Inanna's eight-pointed star is linked to the planet Venus. When did you last allow yourself to dream? Are there precious hopes buried deep inside your soul? Does your inner critical voice crush the tender shoots of your yearnings before they even have a chance to grow? Inanna is taking you on a healing journey into the great below of your ignored and denied dreams. There are many riches gleaming within you, Inanna whispers with a knowing smile. Journey with me into the underworld of your self doubt. Let go of every belief that says you're unworthy or incapable. Suppressing your creative desires can manifest as a chronic malaise or a gray cloud over your head that just won't shift. This is because the longing to share your light is part of your sacred contract to the goddess. There's something you're passionately wanting now, but you've been keeping the desire pushed way down. Don't do this anymore. Believe in your ability to build this beautiful, sacred creation. I am queen of both heaven and earth, and I will help you bring your dreams into reality. Here's the additional meanings. Use healing affirmations to reprogram negative or self-critical thoughts. Take daily action steps in the direction of your dreams. Shamanic journeying will benefit you. Use grounding techniques such as conscious breathing and root chakra meditation. Here's the invocation. I can do it. I'm worthy of creating my dreams. I can do it. I am worthy of creating my dreams. I can do it. I am worthy of creating my dreams. That's beautiful. Come on now. Confident, beautiful, embodied in her sexual energy, balanced, unashamed, unafraid, at peace. Believe in yourself. That's nice. And I got to figure out why I can't see your comments, but that's a damn nice card. Anybody else? Last call, last call, last call, and we about to wrap it up. Been on here for a while. This has been good. This has been fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Let's see. Thank you, Starling. Thank you, Wade. That was a nice one. I agree. Absolutely. I use Layla says, thank you for everything. Great way to learn from all. It is. Because even if I pull this card for my niece, there might be something here that all of us can tap into. All of us can tap into this. Believe in yourself. Yes, this is good vibes. Now I'm closing out. Antonia, thank you. Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Flo. Thank you, Starling. Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Julie Bop. Julie, your card was complicated. I'm going to pull another one for you just to roll out. I'm going to pull another one for you for this one. I might not read it all the way through. I'll probably talk to you about it, but I'll just pull one last one for you. Are you sure? No, because I already pulled that one. All right, come on. Just for you to see. Julie Bot, this is for you to see. You just, for some reason, you need to just see this one. You just need to see the image. Divine messages. Apollo. And now I'm curious. So I want to know what it says. I want to know what that says. Signs are being sent to light your path. Pay attention to the whispers of spirit. Wake up. The divine realms are communicating with you, sweeping in upon his shining chariot. Apollo comes to illuminate the stream of heavenly messages that are being sent your way. Blonde curls gleaming in the sun, Apollo sits down next to you and starts to play rapturous music on his lyre, like a little harp thing. A wondrous, intuitive language is being spoken through signs and synchronicity. He says, spiritual guides commonly send symbols like feathers and rainbows to remind you of their presence. Pay attention to words, phrases, overheard conversations, song lyrics, music, colors, images, symbols, and number patterns that you experience repetitively. You may have a sense of heightened awareness or sudden stillness as the sign is delivered. Divine messages will always be kind, loving, encouraging, and positive. They don't tell you to do anything. Rather, they nudge you in the right direction of your highest good, reinforcing your inner knowing. If you don't understand a divine message, like the one I pulled for you before, ask yourself, if I really knew, what would this sign mean? Interpret it kindly and trust yourself. Here's the additional meaning. Make a sign journal to record your divine messages and notice the recurring themes. You may have had significant past life experiences as the Delphic Oracle. You'll soon receive a valuable oracle card reading or intuitive session. This might be it. Follow a career path in music. Here's the invocation: Apollo, help me interpret the language of spirit. Apollo, help me interpret the language of spirit. Apollo, help me interpret the language of spirit. That's beautiful. Where I put the damn card now. It's somewhere. There we go. Figure out your languages. All right, and we're going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody. Pay attention to the messages of spirit. Be loving, compassionate. Consider all the actions you take that put weight on your heart. Live in harmony and balance with Ma'at. If you follow the stone tablets and commandments, maybe it's time to freshen up on them. Find inspiration in them if that's what you do. Listen to the universe, listen to your heart, and just be light. Travel light, be light, because you never know when your moment's going to come. And it's not a moment of, ah, shit, I'm going to die tomorrow. It's just your moment of, hey, there's an increased amount of opportunity for you to evolve into a whole different being, either through a new experience, either through the cosmos aligning for you. You never know when your door opens, when your opportunity comes, when your lotto moment is here. Let your heart be light so that whenever it comes, there's no bitterness, there's no grief, there's no unresolved issues, there's no pain you're holding on to, there's no attachment. Just try every day to just be light in your energies and let it go. Let go my ego. And so it is. Thank you. I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you. If you're catching me on the replay, I love and appreciate you. Until next time, you guys might not see me next Thursday. I'm going to be on the road, but when I come back, we might start tapping into some of these ancient goddesses, okay? Love you guys. Love you, Layla. Love you, Starling, Julie Bob, Antonia, Wade, Flo, Candy, everybody. I love you guys. Be light, travel light, be the light. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.